I tried to give my girlfriend the one thing she always cried about, her family back. Instead, I found out she'd been sleeping with her sister's husband. The worst part wasn't the affair. It was the texts she sent after her sister miscarried. 3 weeks earlier, I was ring shopping. Now it was 1 a.m., and I was in a hotel, wide awake. Nicole and I had been together for 3 years. To everyone else, she was sweetness and volunteer work. But every holiday, she went hollow. If I asked about her parents, she'd say, "It's complicated," and shut the door. Over time, she gave me the story. Her parents were controlling. Her older sister was the golden child. She'd cut them off, and they'd abandoned her. I believed her because I wanted to, so I got what I thought was a romantic idea. My engagement gift would be reconnecting her with them. I found her sister's public profile in a town 2.5 hours north. I lied and said I was visiting a friend. Then I drove up alone. Her mom's face dropped the second I said my name. Her dad didn't yell, and he didn't threaten me. He just stared like he'd been waiting for this. Then he said, calm and flat, "Talk to Miranda before you propose." He said it twice. I drove home angry, telling myself her parents were playing mind games, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like a warning. 2 days later, I met her sister at a coffee shop. She looked worn down, not dramatic. She asked one question. "Did she tell you about Scott?" When I said no, she unlocked her phone and slid it across the table. Slow motion. First, her thumb hovered over an old thread. Then she tapped my girlfriend's name. Next, the screen filled with familiar blue bubbles. After that, I read, "You're too old to have a healthy baby." Then I saw, "Maybe it's a blessing in disguise." Next came, "You should have kept your husband happy." And finally, "You'd be a terrible mother anyway." Miranda didn't cry. She just watched me read. She told me what happened years ago. My girlfriend moved in with Miranda and Scott temporarily. Miranda got pregnant. One day she came home early and found them in bed. Not once, months. Hotel receipts, photos. Miranda filed for divorce. 2 weeks later, she miscarried at 14 weeks. After that, my girlfriend didn't apologize. She blamed Miranda. She mocked the miscarriage. Those texts were what she chose to send. I drove home on autopilot. When I walked in, Nicole was in my kitchen, humming and chopping vegetables like nothing existed outside that room. She smiled and asked, "How was your weekend?" I asked, "Do you remember living with your sister and Scott?" Her face went pale. Then the tears came fast. She said Scott chased her. She said Miranda was jealous. She said her family was toxic and I was being manipulated. I asked, "Are those your words? Yes or no?" She couldn't answer. I packed a bag and left. A few days later, Miranda called me shaking. Nicole had phoned her for the first time in years, not to apologize, to threaten. She said if Miranda talked to me again, she'd call CPS. When I confronted Nicole, she waved it off as a hypothetical. I told her we were done. Then the money disappeared. We had a joint savings account for trips and our future. It was empty 3 days after I ended it. She texted from a new number and said she took her share. At the same time, I'd already paid engagement deposits I couldn't fully refund. She used that mess to force a meeting. At the coffee shop, she wore the dress I used to compliment. She started crying and saying, "Couples get passed worse," like I owed her forgiveness on demand. I said, "There is no couple." I walked out. That night, she showed up outside my friend's building. She did it twice. The third time, we called the police. They made her leave and told her not to come back. I canceled the engagement party and ate the loss. She didn't stop. She messaged my mom. She hit my coworkers. She told people I cheated so she could stay the victim, always from a new number. Then my landlord called about noise complaints at my apartment. I hadn't been there in weeks. I rushed back and opened the door to a wreck. My clothes were cut up. My laptop was smashed. My childhood photos were torn and scattered. Red marker screamed across my walls. I filed for a restraining order with screenshots and a police report. She didn't show up to the hearing. The judge granted a 3-year order. I moved across town, better locks, a new number, private accounts. I check the door twice before I sleep. If she breaks that order, I make one call. I'm done being her collateral.